getting the worst news ever.
I'm sorry to tell you, man, he's been killed.
There's wailing, hysteria. But are those tears as fake as the crime scene? Staged by police, but filmed by cops. Literally, the TV show. The police say she wanted him dead.
They didn't spot anything.
That they have proof caught on hidden camera, hiring a hitman.
Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me. There's like 5,000% sure.
She wasn't just 100% sure. She was 5,000% sure that she wanted her husband killed.
But Dahlia says the only reality was getting herself and her husband on reality TV.
If they could do it, there's no reason why we can't do it.
They wanted to submit that, post it on YouTube to try to get acting parts.
So the goal here was to be famous?
She got what she wanted.
Work it, work it.
The outrageous story that made national headlines.
One of the wildest and one of the craziest.
The story just got huger and huger.
But tonight, she's finally telling her version.
This is the first time you have ever talked about this case, correct? How will you explain what we have all seen and heard on those videotapes?
With one trial behind her and a new one coming up,
Trying to cope with everything.
get ready for a he said, she said scandal of sex, lies, and videotape.
3 words to describe Dahlia. Liar, liar, liar.
Was the real you the person in those tapes or the person sitting here today?
Who is the woman in the video? Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Vargas. David is away on assignment. Tonight, the jaw-dropping story that seemed to go from just married to a murder-for-hire plot in just 6 months. But now that the woman on trial is speaking out only to 2020, things aren't so open and shut. Instead of asking how much did she want to get rid of her husband, her lawyers say you should ask, how far did she go to get on reality TV? Here's Amy Robach.
Palm Beach, Florida. Mansions face the shoreline. Pricey jewels fill the store windows. Bentleys dot the boulevards. But just down the road, the bling disappears as if a wave swept it away.
If Palm Beach is high-end, top chef, Boynton Beach is meatloaf.
A tropical blend of strip malls, side by side with palm trees, retirees, and young folks just starting out. It's home to petite, soft-spoken Dahlia Dippolito. She is Boynton Beach's most unlikely and notorious celebrity.
I didn't do anything.
The wrong kind.
Miss Dippolito, is your husband Michael?
Her road to infamy began with this video. It looks like police telling Dahlia her husband of just 6 months was murdered.
Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man, he's been killed.
But watch closely, because nothing in this case is what it seems.
Try to calm down.
Turns out police are duping Dahlia. That whole crime scene, it's fake. Police claim Dahlia ordered a hit on her husband and that they have hidden camera video to prove it.
Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me.
First comes love, then comes marriage, then murder. This story was on newscasts everywhere.
Dahlia Dippolito, she is the Boynton Beach newlywed.
Caught on tape taking a contract out on her husband.
The hitman turned out to be an undercover cop.
Police staged a fake murder scene.
For 6 years, hounded by the press, but never saying a word. Until now.
Walking on the sidewalk right now, this doesn't happen very often.
No, this doesn't happen at all. This is the first time I've had to walk in a long time.
Yeah, your every move is monitored.
She's under house arrest, accused of solicitation to commit murder, tethered to an ankle bracelet.
That's what it looks like, and it doesn't come off at all.
She says she's on medication for what is unsurprising, depression and anxiety, and that faith is what gets her through each day. Her favorite escape? Listening to worship music. Her favorite band? Hillsong.
All the songs are just about people going through struggles. I feel like I'm, casting away the negativity and just really bringing in light.
What's been the hardest part?
Not knowing when it's over, not being able to leave, watching everybody around me being able to come and go as they want, and I can't do that, and just trying to be happy for them as they're coming back and forth and stuff.
Her downfall began, she says, the day she met what she thought was her dream man.
What was your initial impression of Mike DiPolito?
Charming.
He was a workout fanatic and self-employed marketer, and more than a decade older. But no matter, they had instant chemistry.
What drew you to him?
He was really, really engaging, and I felt a really strong connection.
We seemed to hit it off really quick.
What do you think Michael saw in you?
My personality.
I guess we were active sexually, you know, that seemed to be on point.
Well, there was that. And of course, Mike had a Porsche, seemed to have plenty of money, and a nice new condo in this complex, Renaissance Commons. What better setup to start a new life?
I would say I was naive in that I just never imagined something as crazy as what happened would happen. You know, you would never see that coming.
Indeed. Who would have imagined that the DiPolitos would be a duo on the tip of so many tongues?
Dahlia DiPolito.
Dahlia DiPolito.
When people hear the name Dahlia DiPolito, what do you think comes to mind?
Everything negative. All the headlines, the person they're describing, it's definitely not me.
When Dahlia sat down with us for her first television interview, she wanted to talk about a very different Dahlia. A girl with a normal upbringing who danced, played sports.
I had a really great childhood, happy, had a lot of friends.
She went to Catholic high school, then on to college, and soon after got a real estate license, a career choice as natural in South Florida as sunscreen at the beach. For someone with a personality like she describes.
I didn't have a hard time getting along with people.
Shirley didn't have trouble getting along with Mike. The two lovebirds were so happy dating, it was only a small issue that he was, well, married to someone else.
I was told that he was going through the divorce proceedings.
Would you have had a problem had that not been the case, if he just was a married guy who was looking for some fun on the side?
Yes.
Mike had a past, but he says so did Dahlia. Mike says Dahlia wasn't just selling real estate, she was selling herself as an escort.
Well, I didn't meet her in church. That's obvious. Needless to say, you know, I was married. I made a bad decision. I called her an escort, and she came.
Okay, so it may not have been exactly a fairy tale romance, but Mike says he fell for her regardless. And just a few months later, he got divorced, and they wasted no time. 5 days later, they were married.
Why rush into the marriage? Why say, okay, your divorce is final, let's run to the courthouse and get married?
It clearly wasn't well thought out.
But from all appearances, it was working out. By day, the newlyweds exchanging love notes.
We weren't like the party type or anything like that, and so I liked the homey type of, you know, environment.
Their nights, Dahlia says, often spent snuggling at home watching reality TV. Shows like Cheaters and Real Housewives of New York.
Okay, no, it's not right.
You gonna fight with me now?
Did Mike love it? Did you love it? Did you love it together?
He liked the fact that people would be on these shows and essentially get paid to do nothing. It's just watching them at home or on their couch.
Back then, it was all innocent fun, she says. Two people just dreaming together of being on TV.
He said, you know, if they could do it, if you're watching these people do it, there's no reason why, you know, we can't do it. We look better than those people, and why not?
But Dahlia says there was a darker side to Mike, something he was hiding, something big.
After months of being together, his probation officer showed up at our home, and I had no idea who it was. When he told me, he just completely downplayed everything.
She says Mike failed to mention he was a convicted felon. Years ago, he'd been to prison for fraud after scamming investors out of tens of thousands of dollars.
Probation until 2032.
Right, and that was something else that I didn't know either. I wouldn't have dated him if I would have known.
That's just silly. That's a lie. She's lying.
Mike says he was trying to live a very clean life to be sure he didn't violate his parole, which is why he got worried a couple of months into the marriage when strange things start happening.
7 years, I guess, prior, I had no run-ins with the police. I meet Dahlia, and then within 6 months, I'm probably pulled over, had my house searched, and grabbed at every other area in Palm Beach probably 8 times.
The cops say there's a reason they keep pulling him over. They are getting anonymous tips that he's dealing drugs.
And I'm like, well, how's this happening?
Strange things going on in his life and in Dahlia's too. Police say after just 6 months of marriage, she has other men in her life. Men who are helping her with a secret plan to get Mike's money, his condo, and get him out of the way. One of those men is in the front seat of this car.
Your life straight after this, seriously, don't ever do, you know?
And they're not talking about the weather.
Killing somebody, come on. I mean, that's, you know, nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me.
Next, the honeymoon is over.
I was a little surprised. It wasn't like, you know, kill him nicely. It wasn't even like, do it nice, don't hurt him, or...
Dahlia's alleged scheming is about to become a video sensation.
I'm a lot tougher than what I look. I know you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. You know, but I'm not.
I could just watch the video over and over. It just is one of those clips that never gets old.
Stay with us.
2020 continues with the woman in the video.
The Boynton Beach Police Department, a small building in a quiet South Florida town. But what came out of here could hardly have been any bigger or louder. Terry Parker, investigative reporter for WPBF 25 News, covered the story.
So this guy Muhammad walks into the Boynton Beach police station and he says, I know a woman who's trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband.
She asked if I knew someone who can kill her husband for her.
The man, Mohammed Shahadi, was recorded as he talked to detectives about his one-time lover, Dahlia DiPolito. He tells police he's speaking out to save the man's life.
Are you scared for the guy?
Yes, because she's really, dead serious on getting this done.
It's quite a story, if true, because while he can describe Dahlia,
She's maybe 5'6", 5'7", dark black hair. She's a good-looking girl. Really good-looking girl, actually.
he can't even tell cops her last name or her address.
Well, at the time, we didn't know what to believe. We were kind of, weren't sure what we had.
They had the reservations. They had to say, let's see some proof.
To get proof, the cops make Mohammed a confidential informant. He arranges to meet Dahlia at this gas station. Cops are staked out as their mystery woman arrives.
And she actually stepped out of the car. We were surprised because she didn't look like the type.
She didn't look like a killer, but Detective Alex Moreno says she's about to show her true colors.
Hey, what's up?
She gets into Mohammed's silver Lexus. While you can't quite see them on the hidden camera cops had installed, you can sure hear them talking about a hitman.
This guy's a professional. It's not bull.
Once she gets in the car and she meets up with the informant, we realized that this guy was credible.
His mom is not going to get suspicious of you or anything like that.
Why me? Like, do you know what telling somebody it? Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me.
She's just talking about it like she's ordering lunch.
Randy Schultz is a columnist for the Sun Sentinel newspaper.
You think, this is just so cold, not really acting like the typical newlywed, shall we say.
Mohammed tells Dahlia the hitman wants $1,200 to buy a gun. She comes prepared. She has a wad of cash in her bag and counts it out and hands it over. And shortly afterward, gives him a photo of Mike.
Wipe my prints off the pictures. Really? You're gonna give him somebody fingerprints all over?
And at that moment, the detectives realized, we've got her. This is real. She just handed him $1,200 in a picture of the husband that she wants murdered.
We were shocked how easily she talked about getting her husband killed.
2 days later, the talk turns to action in the CVS parking lot. She's not there to pick up a prescription.
So I came here, I pretty much parked in this exact spot right here.
This is Whitty Jean, an undercover police officer.
She parked one to the third space from here.
Police say Dahlia thinks she is meeting an actual hitman in his cherry red convertible.
Staying in here, right?
All right, yeah.
Okay.
He makes his plan crystal clear.
I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it and when exactly it's going to be done.
A burglary gone wrong that leaves Mike dead.
Everybody works in the daytime.
Right.
When he's at work, when he's not at work, then, he gets 2 in the head.
For the undercover detective, he really wants to nail Dahlia. Make sure he's got it on tape and on camera that she is really going to pay him to kill her husband. And he says, are you sure, Dahlia?
Between now and when it's done, you're not going to have an option to change your mind, even if you change your mind.
No, there's no, I'm determined already. I'm positive, 5,000% sure.
There it is. The press would have a field day with this line. Listen again. She's 5,000% sure.
I'm positive, 5,000% sure. No, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
No, she wasn't just 100% sure. She was 5,000% sure that she wanted her husband killed.
I was a little shocked because I didn't think she was going to be that open.
Dahlia never backs off.
No, I'm not gonna, I'm a lot tougher than what I look. I know you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. But I'm not.
You are. You're beautiful.
Thank you, but make sure everything's going to take care of.
The not-so-cute little girl agrees to a plan. She will leave the house early Wednesday morning.
I'll be in the house by 6:30 Wednesday morning, 6 o'clock.
Sure enough, she's at this gym around 6 a.m. Wednesday, leaving Mike DiPolito home alone, in bed, still recovering from liposuction from 2 weeks before.
At this point, the police have all the evidence they need. These are experienced officers. You know that you have enough. You have a case. Done. End of story. But not end of television show.
Television show?
Bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you?
That's right. Turns out a reality show has come to Boynton Beach.
Got the video?
Yep.
And the timing couldn't be better. They'll be able to film the last part of the police investigation.
Detectives, they were going to stage this fake crime scene.
I hear a banging on the door.
Sorry, yes. Sergeant Sheridan, Boynton Police Department.
The TV show cameras are rolling when police wake up Mike. That's Officer Moreno at the door.
Your wife has hired a person to kill you.
Relax, just
relax.
Take it easy.
Take a deep breath.
Daddy, sit down.
The guy was totally in shock that this was going on.
I was very surprised. I was like, because then it hit me like, this is a mess.
They drive him away and transform the street to make it appear they're really investigating Mike's murder. The TV show Cops, along with Boynton Beach police, have cameras rolling when a detective calls Dahlia at the gym.
We're at your residence, ma'am. Can you come right back to your residence, please?
She's back in a flash, and now watch carefully. You be the judge of what happens next.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am. I'm sorry. Listen. Try to calm down.
We know the cops are acting.
I can't let you see it, ma'am.
What about Dahlia?
I need you to take her to the station.
Amidst all of that tremors and shaking of her body, there wasn't any real tears coming out of her eyes.
The crying, the screaming, the bending over. Meryl Streep, wherever you are tonight, don't worry, you're safe.
They hustled Dahlia off to this interrogation room for questioning. Another recorded moment.
Are you sure that you don't know anybody who want to kill your husband? You wouldn't want to kill him, I hope. Not at all.
It's almost like something out of Law and Order.
There's no more games with you and I. Now we're going to get down to serious business. I want to know if you know this guy. Come here.
They bring in Officer Witty Jean, the supposed hitman from the car.
Get over here. You know who this guy is?
No.
You've never seen him before?
I've never seen him before.
She just stared at him. She said she didn't know him.
And then, call it a resurrection.
Oh my God!
He's alive.
Police have another surprise for Dahlia DiPolito.
Here, please. Come here. Mike, come here.
She sees her husband, and he's alive.
The show Cops captures this moment as well.
Come here, please. Come here. Why not? I didn't do anything to you. Mike, come here, please.
What? You're alive? I love that moment, and I'm sure a jury will too.
You're going to jail today for solicitation of murder. You're under arrest.
I didn't do anything.
Did you hear what I just told you?
You kept saying, I didn't do anything.
Please, I didn't do anything.
Was that all you could think of to say?
They were accusing me of trying to have my husband killed, and I didn't.
Didn't do anything? What about the hitman? What about all those tapes? Dahlia's never answered questions about her version.
How do you explain what we have all seen and heard on those videotapes?
For the first time, she will. Stay with us.
We return to 2020 and the woman in the video.
I didn't do anything, and I didn't plot anything.
Police say she thought she'd gotten away with it.
Not even a few hours after Dahlia DiPolito was caught on camera, the story went viral.
It's an unbelievable case.
Caught on camera trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband.
Bombshell tonight.
A newlywed in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Work it, cry. Problem, ruh-roh, the hitman is a cop.
I'll never forget it because we just stood around the newsroom. What is this?
You want to help your husband?
I could just watch the video over and over. It just is one of those clips that never gets old.
In an unusual move, the Boynton Beach police released the video of the fake crime scene on YouTube the same day, and the public couldn't get enough.
So this story just got huger and huger, and it was like a reporter's dream come true. They got played and replayed over and over.
Fast forward 2 years, and cameras are all over Dahlia once again, this time out in the open as she finally gets her day in court. Charged with solicitation to commit murder, facing up to 30 years in prison.
Your trial. Can you describe what that experience was like for you?
Confusing, really difficult.
You will see how determined she was to have Mike DiPolito, her husband, killed.
Prosecutor Elizabeth Parker tells the jury, don't be fooled by the petite, now demure-looking defendant. Dahlia is a scheming, plotting, would-be murderer.
She has no guilt, no remorse, no concern for the safety of others.
Really, really strong evidence. It's not often that you get the crime actually caught on tape.
You know, every morning he's walking the dog like at a certain time.
But what was her motive?
You know, here's a new bride They've just been married. Why?
They say love is blind.
The motive, according to Parker, is simple. She wanted his money. She even convinced him to transfer the title to his $250,000 condo into her name, and she wanted another man, a former boyfriend named Mike Stanley. He's in construction. Dahlia's been texting with him, Parker says, and the texts seem damning. Boynton Beach detective Alex Moreno reads their X-rated conversation on the stand.
Do you want my hot, tight body all over you?
His monotone hardly matching the steamy words.
Love you so much. I'm so horny for you. Some of the stuff was kind of cheesy. I mean, I had to read it up on the stand. It was not my best moment. Baby, I love you, and I only want to you.
The evidence with Mike Stanley, huge motive for why she wanted her husband out of the picture. 893 text messages between the two of them.
She's shameless about the way that she uses her sexual power to get what she wants.
And what she wanted, Parker says, was to get her husband out of the way by planting drugs on him and calling the cops. That's why Mike DiPolito kept getting pulled over by police.
She was trying to set him up to have his probation violated, to have him arrested.
The sooner he gets jammed up, the sooner we can be in Paradise Island, baby.
There were text messages presented at your first trial, sexually graphic messages between you and a man named Michael Stanley. Do you have any explanation about what happened?
I didn't send those messages from my phone. Mike actually sent those text messages.
Mike DiPolito, her husband, sent them? Dahlia claims her husband was playing games with her former boyfriend. Mike DiPolito denies it. But Parker says when Dahlia's plan to get her husband put into prison failed, she took it a step further. If she couldn't send him to the big house, she'd get rid of him altogether.
Yeah, but killing somebody, come on. Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me.
But as damning as those tapes may seem, Dahlia's trial lawyer, Michael Salnick, has a defense, and it's unforgettable.
It was never anyone's intention to harm anyone.
It wasn't a murder plot, he says.
It was a stunt. It was a hoax.
It was a plot to get on television, a reality TV defense.
The plot seems to thicken and thicken and then thicken again.
I've seen a lot of wild and crazy defenses in my day, and this is certainly one of the wildest and one of the craziest.
Reality TV has become a way to launch a center stage career.
Salnick tells the jury Michael DiPolito wasn't a victim. He was an accomplice, that Dahlia, Mohammed, and Michael were working together to create some kind of videotape to try to land themselves as stars in reality TV.
The website name is, it says, welcome to realitytvcastingcall.com.
Salnick presents a computer forensic expert who found that Dahlia had searched reality shows on her computer.
The thing about reality TV is that anybody can do it, anybody can become famous.
And a professor and expert in reality TV who explains how alluring it is to many people.
If there's any way the defense is going to win here, I think she needs to take the stand.
But she didn't.
Why didn't you testify?
It was a daily, yes, you're going to testify, no, you're not going to testify. And
Did you want to testify?
Yes, I did.
You regret not testifying?
Absolutely.
Judge, the defense is going to rest.
Still, as the jury goes to deliberate, Dahlia tells us her side was confident.
I never had the impression or the understanding from my attorney that losing was a possibility. Everything was always, you know what, we got this.
Wow.
We have really good poker faces.
These jurors say they consider the trial a disaster for Dahlia.
I'm really surprised to hear that she thought it was going well.
In fact, it took just 3 hours to reach a verdict.
Has our jury reached a verdict?
We all just said, well, she's guilty. It was just kind of unanimous.
We find the defendant guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
As for the reality TV defense?
And the defense didn't present anything that really represented this was for a reality TV show.
There was nothing.
For them, the tapes told all.
And she said, I am 5,000% sure. And that did it for me.
I ask you to have some mercy.
At her sentencing, Dahlia's mother, brother, and sister begged the judge for leniency.
I need her here.
Why did you get so emotional?
Hearing my sister talk about how she's looked up to me. And she wished I could go, you know, and watch her get ready for prom. It was really emotional because I really value my family.
your web of deception.
The judge is unmoved.
There is absolutely no moral justification for your conduct. It was pure evil. I'm sentencing you to 20 years in the Department of Corrections.
And when he said 20, it was numb.
But when we return, a courtroom bombshell.
She's getting a new trial? Exactly.
Were you surprised?
A new trial with 2 new lawyers, and guess where she found them? On TV.
Mark Eiglarsh.
But here's the good news. I think the law is on the side.
They say they have a winning strategy.
I am 5,000% sure Dahlia DiPolito is innocent.
And it comes from yet another TV show. Burn Notice.
I want to pay you a lot of money to kill a lady.
This episode has a plot twist that sounds familiar.
I'm here because someone was hired to kill you.
Is a TV crime drama the key to the case? Stay with us.
I'm not going to, all right?
They are newlyweds like none other. Just 6 months after wedding vows with the justice of the peace, Dahlia had to face a different kind of justice.
Pure evil.
The result? 20 years in prison for solicitation to commit murder. That seemed to be the end of this sordid story. Her husband Mike even had some pity for the woman convicted of plotting his death.
For a second, I felt a little bad for her. I mean, it's no fun. Nobody wants to go to jail. I know that for sure.
But then, Dahlia's Hail Mary prayer for an appeal was answered.
In the last hours, the Black Widow, Dahlia DiPolito, set to walk free.
A Florida judge ruled the jury wasn't selected properly and ordered a new trial.
The appeals court tosses out the conviction.
Were you surprised?
It was the first piece of good news throughout the whole process that I received.
So now Dahlia is anxiously awaiting a new trial. She is out of prison and under house arrest at her mother's home. Finally, ready to talk to 2020 about the charges against her.
Did you want your husband dead?
No, absolutely not.
Did you hire a hitman to kill your husband?
No.
Because it is a pre-trial interview, her newly hired high-profile lawyers, Mark Eiglarsh and Brian Claypool, wouldn't let her talk about certain parts of the case, in particular, those seemingly damning videotapes.
Wipe my hands off the pictures.
How do you explain what we have all seen and heard on those videotapes?
I'd like to be able to explain that to you right now, but I can't because the attorneys legally have told me that we're saving that for our day in court.
How damaging are these tapes to your client?
They are damaging because people have formed opinions.
Her lawyers have an explanation for those tapes.
Our job in the second trial is to provide the proper context for the jury to see that this is not really what it looks like.
He says you can't understand the tapes without understanding everything that came before. Here's a plot twist no one saw coming. He says it goes back to, of all things, another television show. The TV show Burn Notice, USA's long-running crime drama. On this episode, the plot is about hiring a hitman.
I want to pay you a lot of money to kill a lady.
And guess who had been an extra on the show?
You appeared in the television show Burn Notice, is that correct? Yes.
Mohammed Shahadi, Dahlia's one-time lover, part-time actor, and the confidential informant for the Boynton Beach police. The lawyers say Mohammed, Dahlia, and Michael wanted to mimic the episode in their own fake hitman video.
They wanted to submit that, post it on YouTube, to try to get acting parts. That was the plan.
So the goal here was to be famous?
I'm not here to tell you that what these three folks did was smart.
No, not so smart. But whatever it was, Claypool says Mohammed figured it would be even better if it was recorded on real undercover cameras planted by real cops.
Sure everything else is okay?
Yo, what more sure can you want? You're planning a murder. Come on, stop.
Mohammed is an actor in this video.
You know, nobody's going to be able to point a finger at me.
More acting?
Right, exactly. That's all part of it.
And believe it or not, he says they're not just acting, they've become real-life victims.
Dahlia is a victim.
Oh, I believe that. Absolutely.
Claypool claims the real wrongdoers in this story are the detectives themselves. How?
This special edition of Cops is filmed on location with the men and women.
Remember the TV show Cops? They'd been planning to film with the Boynton Beach police for months. When Mohammed walked in with the story about a hitman, Claypool claims detectives thought they had struck gold.
What the police department did is they found out She's an attractive woman. In their minds, they're like ching, ching, ching. This is a perfect skit to get on tape.
Got the video?
She just got in the car.
And, you know, he gets 2 in the head.
I get in and out, catch 2 in the head, okay?
This is where the explanation gets tricky. Claypool claims Muhammad realized his plans that sounded so good for a fake YouTube video were spinning out of control in real life. He wanted out, but detectives threatened him to make him continue as a confidential informant.
He wanted zero part of that. Detective Marino was calling him 10 times a day. Dude, you gotta do it, you gotta do it, you gotta call her.
Muhammad acknowledges he felt pressured by police in this deposition.
Why did you believe that you could get prosecuted for this if you didn't continue to work with them?
Because they told me I could.
Okay.
Why would the police put pressure on Muhammad? Claypool says they wanted to make sure nothing stopped the cops' TV show from going forward. And under all that pressure, Claypool says Muhammad freaked out when Dahlia told him she didn't want to meet with the supposed hitman.
Dahlia starts backing out. She didn't want to have any part of this anymore.
Hey, we're staying in Paris.
Claypool claims she only kept up the act because Muhammad threatened her with a gun.
He threatened to hurt me and to hurt my family.
Did you believe he would?
Absolutely, yes.
So she was threatened to act out a hoax on a videotape? I mean, do you understand how ridiculous that sounds to a lot of people watching this?
Yeah, that's not ridiculous. You've got a 6'2", 230-pound man with a gun.
Saying you will do this
Absolutely.
YouTube hoax or else?
Right.
All right, so that's how I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Robbery went bad.
All that leading to the famous 5,000% sure moment.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure.
5,000% sure, not 100% sure, not 1,000% sure, but 5,000% sure. How do you explain that?
I look at that video and I see somebody who's struggling with whether she's really sure.
She's struggling? What?
Why? Well,
how is she struggling if she's 5,000% sure?
Well, you might find that humorous, but when I hear people say they're sure, I'm 110% sure. She's trying to overcompensate.
Whether she's 10, 100, or 5,000% sure, Dahlia's lawyers believe the whole case against Dahlia doesn't add up to anything, that she was framed by the police.
So are you saying that Dahlia was enticed, entrapped into soliciting a murder for hire?
There's no question about it that the Boynton Beach Police Department was dead set on manufacturing a crime here.
They've filed a motion to dismiss the case, claiming police violated her constitutional rights. The police deny any wrongdoing in a Skype interview.
The cops' show just happened to be here at the time of this investigation. We're not in the business of producing television. We're in the business of saving lives. And we believe we did that in this case. We believe that the merits of the case, the evidence collected, will stand, and we believe we have a solid case going forward.
And what about when Dahlia was arrested?
I didn't do anything. Tell me you didn't do anything?
Why didn't she just tell police her version of what happened?
I've asked her that question too. Oh, yeah, everybody. Hey, Sergeant, this was just a YouTube thing we were putting together. She was in a state of shock.
I couldn't react. I just completely froze. I wanted to get out of there and I felt just paralyzed.
What do you say to people who say you're just denying the undeniable? That this is an open and shut case?
That now with the attorneys that I have, so much is coming to light to where it would just be insane to not believe me.
So who to believe? Is Dahlia the soft-spoken, wholesome woman at our interview, or a cold-blooded killer?
Was the real you the person in those tapes or the person sitting here today?
The person sitting here. The tape was, it was a show, it was a tape. That was the purpose of it.
You were acting in those tapes?
Yes.
But you're telling the truth now.
Liar, liar, liar.
We asked him about Dahlia's version of what happened, that he and Muhammad were making a YouTube video with her.
Absolutely not. That's a lie. That's such a lie. That's my reaction.
He says he never even knew Muhammad, no less planned a YouTube video with him.
I've never met him, ever.
Mike's last conversation with Dahlia was a phone call she made from jail the night she was arrested.
Mike, please, I need an attorney. Can you please help me? This is not true.
Okay, look, how do you explain what I saw and heard?
Dahlia's lawyer, Brian Claypool, thinks Mike seems to offer a tit-for-tat that doesn't pass the smell test.
You know what I'll do? You know what I'll do for you? Seriously? What? You sign my house back over to me. I'll help you, Mom, immensely. Give me my house back. That's it. That's it, what? I'll help you.
That doesn't sound to me like it's coming from a person who thought his wife was going to have him shot twice in the head.
As for the mysterious Mohammed Shahade, what does he make of all of this? He declined to do an interview with us. He has denied working on a video with Dahlia and Mike and ever threatening her. But Claypool claims these phone records show otherwise. 500 calls between Dahlia and Mohammed in the days leading up to Dahlia's arrest.
She was baited, enticed, and entrapped.
At her new trial, Dahlia says there will be one radical change.
You're prepared to take the witness stand?
I am.
And testify in your own defense? And to handle all that cross-examination?
I am.
Let me know when she's going. I'll be sitting in the back with popcorn. I'd love to see this.
Did you ever love Mike DiPolito?
I married him because I loved him.
And now?
Now I wish I never would have met him.
Oh, I feel the same way. I wish I would have made a left, not a right. Trust me.
Dahlia DiPolito's new trial is scheduled to begin this May, so put yourself in that jury. Do you buy her explanation that the tape was essentially an acting reel or a